Man, I'm solid, bro.
You sure?
Yeah. 100%.
Tired?
I'm ready to roll.
You the first guest I've ever had for somebody to come on and say, "Yo, I did 4 miles before I got here."
Yeah, it's necessary, man. I
Nah.
think a lot of times we as entrepreneurs, we focus so much on building businesses, but we don't build ourselves. Right?
Okay.
And I honor my commitments. So we scheduled this 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
I don't care what was coming up on my schedule. This was already scheduled.
This was done?
But I'm honored a commitment that I made to myself though. A week ago.
Yeah.
So I was like, as a part of Q3, I'm gonna run in a race 2 times a month. The closest race was July 4th, so we're gonna get after it. We're gonna rock out, and then we're gonna be ready for this podcast.
Absolutely
There's no
not.
excuses.
Look, hand claps for my guests honoring their commitments. First of all, I'm appreciative of you being here. Let's do it like this. How did I meet you? So I get a DM one day. This is what I remember. And so it's funny how the universe just aligns, right? Because I go back. I'm in Vegas and I'm with one of my homegirls and we having brunch and she's like, "What are you doing with your business?" So I'm going through it and she said, "Look, you have a story in here with me having albinism," and she's like, "You should do a shoot for that month. Just do it. It'll be great. You can see where it goes." So I said, "All right, bet. I think about that. I'll figure that out." So I come home and somebody reaches out to me, was like, "Look, have you ever thought about doing certain shoots?" And I'm like, "All right, cool, whatever." So I'm like, "Dog, they go too." So I get a DM from you and you go, "Hey, I need you. Would you like to come on a podcast?" And for me, you know how it is. Once you do a podcasts become fun and you like, all right, I don't have to do none of the extra work. Yeah. I could just come on a podcast. So I was like, all right, bet. And so the one thing that scared me about your podcast was you said, "Just come." I was like, oh, heck nah. He's about to get me. I was like, I don't know what to, I was like, I just don't know how to prepare because you always want to be prepared, right? But then sometimes it's cool just to, look, I'm going to just take whatever comes. And so we get there and we start having multiple conversations and just different questions coming. And at the end of it, whether we was talking about self-confidence, whether we was just talking about like just how I grew up, it was like the confirmation that I needed to do the shoot that had been starting. And it was so funny. It just seemed like the universe and God just put everything together to say, all right, bro, gave you the conversation in Vegas. I gave you this other person. Now you have this hour-long podcast, which is going to help lead you and push you there. And first of all, I want to thank you for that.
I appreciate you.
Before we get started, please tell people your name, where you're from, and anything else. We'll go from there.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Kyle King, originally from Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
I run a company here in the city that is the Writer's Game, that we have an online education company that helps entrepreneurs scale their companies through storytelling. Outside of that, I'm a father, I'm a vessel, and I'm really here to serve people in any way that God is moving me.
Let me ask you this. Why is serving people so important? Because, and the reason why I say that is because we had a conversation off mic where it seems like money is always the motivator or the thing of just like, all right, I can't do this unless I'm making a check. But it's about people that serve, they just have a whole different mindset.
I think the biggest secret to success is gratitude and humility, hands down.
Okay.
And for me, I think that what we were talking about is that I think a lot of people are focused on income rather than information.
Absolutely.
When I've been around billionaires and millionaires and super successful people, and I'm just showing up, and I'm learning, and I learned how to be quiet and just take notes and ask great questions. Oftentimes, I don't believe that we, as people, one, know how to ask great questions.
Yeah.
And two, we think that asking questions is disrespectful rather than it being intellectual. The better questions that you ask and the better that you're willing to serve someone else and commit to being humble in this process. Like, look, I don't know, but I'm willing to learn. I guarantee there's somebody out there willing to coach you.
Bro, the biggest lesson I probably learned maybe like 3 years ago was admitting and accepting when you just don't know. And once you do that, you just go so much farther. So, all right, let's do this. We lead a podcast. And so I get an email. So first of all, I suck at checking my emails, but I see it's from you. So I'm like, all right, well, let's see what this is about. And so it's an invitation to a dinner. So I said, all right, bet. All right. So the first one I said I wanted to come, but I guess something just didn't happen. So
time conflict, I think.
Yeah, it was that. So I was like, well, I hope I get invited to the second, because I hate it's this whole weird thing about like sometimes if you kind of let people know like, hey, I won't be able to make it or whatever, they might not think about you the second time, right? So the second one came around and I told my wife, I said, I'm going. Like, I got this one. Then in full transparency, I fell out with some people that know you. And so I was telling her, I said, yo, I bet you these individuals gonna be here. I said, because they know him. It's the perfect setting for this. I don't know if I'm gonna go. And so the last minute, she was like, what you gonna do? And I was like, I'm going. She was like, for real? And I told her, yeah. And I said, the number one reason why I said I was gonna go is, I said, because I feel like it'd be disrespectful to RSVP and not show up. That is the most, to me, that's so disrespectful.
I agree with that.
And careless. And so I was like, all right. I told her, and I told you this at the dinner. I said, I told my wife, I'm going for an hour. I'll be home. Like, I already know it. I already planned my out. I'm going to go shake some hands, smile, whatever, and I'm going to dip. And so I get there. I sat in front of the crib for a minute. I was like, I don't see nobody going in. Maybe this whole thing got canceled. Good. And so we sitting there. So I see a guy go in, and I said, all right, I'm going right after him. So I was trying to catch him at the door, but the door closed, whatever. I got in, and bro, my thought process on life changed that night. And I mean that, because we got in there and it was just a state of, yo, leave it at the door. You felt it when you came in. You felt it of, once you got in there and you start talking to people, mind you, I only knew you, shout out to Ryan, and I knew Ty. Everybody else I didn't know. But yo, I seen grown men in there shed tears. I seen women in there, giving each other hugs. And these are strangers, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But it was one of those things where it was just like, yo, this is just a time for you to let go and just be yourself. And the number one thing, and I tell everybody this, my favorite part about the whole dinner, this is random. You go, yo, we're not going to be introducing ourselves. All of y'all are great at what you do. This ain't that type of networking event. I just want to let you know that, just in case you was coming in here to talk business. And I looked and I was like,
straight up.
I said, all right, I already see what time it is. I was like, cool. And it was just a great experience, man. Why are those dinners important to you?
Because it pulls the curtain behind people. It allows us to see each other, man.
Okay.
And I think oftentimes we're living based upon our titles, we're living based upon our companies and our accomplishments, but we don't know who we are. And this is a space for you to be authentic. Similar to what you said earlier.
Grab your mic.
Yeah, for sure. With the podcast, hold on, let me get this right.
We're gonna get him right.
With the podcast, you were prepared. And we're all experts.
Yeah.
We're all experts in our own lives.
That's true.
And we're oftentimes seeming like we're not significant in the things that we've accomplished. But if we just show up authentically like ourselves, and value the things that were significant in our lives, then we're always going to be ready to step into a space. There's no way to prepare for podcasts. There's no way to prepare for interviews. There's no way to prepare if you're operating with honesty and integrity.
Absolutely.
So those dinners are important because it really allows people to come full but leave empty. And leave everything here and have people see you for who you are, other than what Instagram or TikTok sees you as. There's so much more to people than our profession.
Social media, when I say it's killing and hurting people so much, like their business, their mental, their emotional state. I was in a group today and one of the guys said, hey, I got a friend who's literally contemplating giving up photography. Because social media is just killing his motivation and his mindset. And I was telling you off, Mike, I was like, you got to get off of that. You got to get away from that. How do you not get caught up in social media? Because it's easy. You're a writer, you're a dad. It's not like they got the greatest images of dads online. But how do you stay away from that?
It's so funny that you say this, bro. A few weeks ago, so I went to the Think and Grow video conference with Alex Hormozi and Gary Vee. This was a few months ago.
Okay.
And one of the different things that Alex Hormozi said, he said the problem with people is that you're not as good as you think you are. And that's the reality. He said the best way to show up and be successful online when you're creating content is to go do shit. Can I curse on here?
Absolutely.
He said go do shit and then talk about it and then go do bigger shit. Oftentimes when we're showing up on social media, we're like having a planned content and planned shoots and all these different things. So when I came back, I literally just started talking about the things that I be feeling and the things that I want to talk about. And if you like it, great. If you don't, that's fine. Came back next day, one of the videos that I posted of Carter, you probably saw when cooking, went viral, 200,000 views next day. Then my content, my followers and everything has increased just from being authentic. So oftentimes we have problems and we feel heavy on social media because we're showing up for our followers rather than showing up with who we are.
Absolutely.
So right now, every post that I put out is how I feel, what I'm actually doing, and what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
If y'all don't like it, go find another page.
Absolutely.
That's it.
My man. All right. Before we get this podcast started, you did not know this was going to happen. So we're going to do this. Shout out to the Black Dads Club podcast with me and my boy Mike. We love to ask a question. What is your favorite part about being a dad?
Being able to instill emotional intelligence. I love when Carter comes to me crying, and then we can talk through understanding his feelings, and we attach his feelings to goals. So the first question that I ask him every time that he's experiencing an emotion is what emotion do you experience right now? Is it sadness? Is it disappointment? Is it frustration? Is it anger? And he identifies it. Well, what do you want to feel, Carter? Do you want to feel happy? Do you want to feel, proud? What do you want to feel? And then he tells me, and let's say it's happy. In this case, it's like, okay, well, what's one thing that will make you feel happy? Is it going to Frankie's? Is it talking to your mom? Is it seeing Max, our dog? Is it talking to Pop and Nanny? What is it? Or is it going outside? What is it? He identifies what would help him then become that feeling. Okay, well, based upon what are the things that you need to do so that we could be able to get to that feeling? The first thing he always says is use my words. Then the second thing is all of the actions that follow. And if you commit to the action, if you commit to the process, you get to the success, right?
Absolutely.
So I love, because my father, he was an amazing father, but we didn't really have those intentional, emotionally led conversations.
Absolutely.
So seeing him grow, seeing him develop, and seeing him be authentic in who he is, and he's happy in who he is as a young man. He's 6 years old.
Yeah.
So I think recently I would say that's my most favorite thing, is seeing him grow emotionally and being able to be emotionally intuitive at 6 years old.
That's amazing. The second thing I want to ask you, and I'm going to talk about something you just said, but second thing, my brother-in-law, he just had a baby. Okay. Any advice? Think about a piece of advice you would like to give him. Congratulations to his wife. She had the baby Saturday, and Father's Day was the next day.
That's powerful.
I was like, bro, I said, you got in right at the cut. So, why you think of that? Something you just said, you said, you had a great father, but y'all wasn't able to connect on that emotional intelligence level. And I think about that because, I had a great dad, you know what I'm saying? Amazing man. And it's just like certain things he just didn't know. And certain things that I've come to realize, like, my dad had me when he was 21, and he had just gotten married. Literally, look, they got married in July. I was there April. Wow. So they got quick. Yeah. They got to it quick. And, he was still young, and I couldn't imagine having a kid at 21 or having two like he did at 22. But it was one of those things where I realized now, I'm like, man, he was doing the best he can. And now he makes sure that he instills that in me. Like, yo, look, you have a little boy. Make sure you do those things. But anyway, I just wanted to touch on that because I thought that was super dope. And it's great to hear other men say, yo, look, I had a great father. He making sure, I'm making sure I'm stepping that up and creating something different. All right. You got any advice for my brother-in-law?
Be present in every single aspect. Everything. I think because the relationship that I have with Carter now is based upon the years that he wasn't able to walk, that he wasn't able to talk, that all he did is eat, go to the bathroom, and cry. That's it.
Yeah.
Be present. So you may not think that he or she is listening to you, but read to them every single night. Have real conversations with them. Hold them with your shirt off so that they can feel your skin to skin, so they can feel your heartbeat. Showcase and mirror what example that you want for that kid to see, meaning love the woman that he's with. Showcase all of the different things that you would want this child to experience and want in life. Be that and be present. when the child cries, don't like be there for them. So it's just literally be present in every moment, because it gets me emotional just thinking about it now. Like as Carter gets older, he's now getting friends. He's now wanting to go over his friend's house. You know, he doesn't want to sleep in the bed with daddy anymore. He doesn't want to just be downstairs while daddy is cooking anymore. So, you know, my parents always used to say, like, you know, it's going to go fast.
Yeah.
And it does. And it's scary now because as I see him grow, it's beautiful. But I miss the days where he was so dependent on me. And I'm glad that I was able to be still so present as a father when he grew. So I think if it's one thing, just be present. Your job can wait. Your relationship can wait.
Yeah.
All of those things can wait. And I think if it was another thing, be present and be the best version of yourself.
Absolutely, man. Love that woman, bro. And that's why I told him, I said, yo, you got to be there for your kid. And that starts in being there for the child's mom. It makes me think about, I got a homeboy, and him and his child's mother, they're not together. And he was telling me she was going through something. And he was like, oh, I just took care of it. And I was like, why? You're not with her. She's with somebody else. And this before I had a kid, so I ain't had no idea.
Yeah.
And so he goes, I don't need my daughter going home seeing her mom struggling.
It's 100.
He said, I'd rather take care of whatever her mom needs for that moment. So that when my daughter go home, her mom is in a great state of mind, feels safe, feels protected. And look, I know my daughter's in a great situation. So when she comes back to me, she's good. And so I think a lot of men just don't think about those things. They just think about like, all right, this, I need that. Yo, forget you, whatever. And I was telling another entrepreneur, it was so funny. We was talking about, he's a photographer, and he's like, yo, the baby's coming in the next few weeks. I don't know. He said, I'm going to take off 3 months. Then I got to get back to work. And I'm scared about that conversation. I said, bro, wait for that conversation. Like, forget that conversation.
Thanks.
I said, be there for your child and your child's mom. I was like, because it's going to go. You know what I'm saying? I look at my kid now, bro. He's 10 months, and everybody keeps telling me, like, all right, time finna fly when you're about to be gone.
Yes.
And so I'm thinking about it. I'm like, all right. And then I was looking yesterday. I looked around the house, and I told my wife, I said, yo, we got to get rid of these pictures of him. She said, why? I said, he don't even look like this no more.
You gotta redo them.
I said, we got to take more pictures. I said, that baby is not this baby right here on the floor. And, you know, we was laughing about that. Thank you for that. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. This is where the podcast starts.
Let's get it.
Look, we done gave y'all 15 minutes of just dad talk. Sorry to the moms. If you want mom and you want to come on here, feel free. You can come on here and I'll ask you the same questions. I do want to welcome everybody to the Paid Exposure Podcast. I am your host, Gavin. I do have my homeboy here, Kyle King. He's an amazing guy, an author. One of the powerful things, and I hope I don't take this away from you, that you want to say later. I remember you said, the reason why I want to highlight that you're an author, because I remember you saying at the dinner that if something ever happens to you, your son can read your words. Exactly. And you wrote those books for your son. So if he has any questions, he can just go there and learn. And I thought that was super powerful. So the conversation that we had at that dinner was about pivoting. And so sometimes we think about pivoting, it has multiple meanings, or it could be seeing something just, you know, what's going on. And I think at that dinner, it wasn't necessarily your business. It was like pivoting in life.
Exactly.
And at that, I can't think about how long ago that was. Was that?
It's probably a few months.
Yeah, it was a few months ago.
2 or 3 months.
And so the thing that was interesting for me was I had just had my son a couple months before. Mm-hmm. And so that was the biggest pivot. That was one of the reasons why I was like, I don't know if I'm going, because it's people I don't rock with, because you know, you have a kid and your whole life changes
immediately.
And you don't know, you can't prepare for it. You know, certain people you won't never see again, you won't be able to speak to. And it's not because y'all falling out, you just don't have the time, the energy, or y'all goals don't align. And so I kind of want to talk about pivoting in your business today, as well as your life, because I think life choices and life actions will cause you to pivot in your own business. Have you ever experienced like a certain pivot in your life or business?
100%. I feel like every 2 or 3 years we pivot.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. So whether it's pivoting with a new line of products or services, whether it's pivoting in pricing, whether it's pivoting and introducing a new service to a different clientele, or whether it's actually pivoting the business. So like I was telling you off camera before this, I only work about 12 to 15 hours a week. That was a major pivot. And a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners wonder, and they always ask me, like, how do you work less and still make the money that you make? Is because that was a major pivot that I prepared for. So I say this. So I get my car detailed every Friday, every single week. He comes to the house, he details it and everything. And there was a time where he called me on the phone, and he was like, Kyle, I don't think I'll be able to detail your car anymore. I just got a doctor's note. Long story short, he either had leukemia or an autoimmune disease. 2 weeks later, he found out what it actually was. He couldn't work for the next 6 months. That one call changed my life for the rest of my life. Because if I got a call from the doctor and I couldn't work for 6 months, how is my business going to run? So what is your succession plan? Realistically. I don't care how much money you have in the bank. I don't care how good your team is. I don't care how good you are or you think you are in your skill set. How can your business run without you for 6 to 12 months? So then I was like, okay, so we need to start putting this together. We need to start standardizing our business from SOP standpoint. I need an automated system. I need to be able to understand if I'm working less, I only focus on the high priority tasks, but I need to document everything that I do so that I can hire a CEO in my absence. This is how you hire a CEO. These are the 3 people that I would want you to reach out to handle my finances. This is how we're going to move money. This is how we're going to move the business. That was the first step, because I have to think of the worst possible case scenario, because the worst can possibly happen.
Absolutely.
So I thought about that. And then in regards to business, I was like, all right, well, I want to spend more time with Carter. So I want to work less. So he's in school from 8 a.m. He just finished kindergarten, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. I was like, I don't want to take meetings before 10 a.m. And I'm not doing anything after 3 p.m.
You sound like me, bro.
That's it. So in the morning, it's all about me. When he gets up, it's all about him. And then from when he's in school, it's all about the business.
Absolutely.
So I build out my schedule in 5 categories. So personal development is number 1. Family and relationships is number 2. Number 3 is client fulfillment. What do my clients need? Number 4 is business revenue generation activity. So revenue generating activity. How are you making $1,000 today? Not tomorrow, not next week. What are the activities that you can do to drive revenue in the business? And then number 5, obviously, is business growth and administration. How can we be thinking about the next thing? But a lot of people, honestly, bro, a lot of people can't think like that because they're so focused on either building a brand or they're not stabilized. What I mean by that, their life is a mess. It says in the scripture that a double-minded man is unstable in all their ways. If your life isn't stable and you're not ahead on your finances, then you don't need to start a business.
Look, y'all ran out there and got them LLCs. But you know, oh, that's good. You know, it's funny because the guy who told me about the dude quitting over Instagram today, we were having a conversation and he said, so what are you doing? Like, what's next? And I said, well, I'm looking for an out in photography. He said, oh, you can send your clients to me. I said, no, bro, I don't think you get it. I said, I'm looking for an out. I said, I'm not trying to be 45 taking pictures. And shout out to all my 45 photographers. And it's a lot of y'all who definitely, y'all do photography as a hobby then, so it doesn't matter to you anymore.
Exactly.
I said, but it's a lot of people, it sucks seeing an older gentleman or an older woman, and you can tell that they're doing photography because they need to, and they're up in age when they could have been home. And me and you was talking about entrepreneurs, they don't know how to save so they can buy homes, they can get their cars. People ain't putting money aside for retirement still. And so I told that dude, I said, look, I'm trying to be done at a certain point and I want to know what I'm doing next. So it's hard to get people to think about those steps. And that's powerful, man, because I do want to figure out, I told my wife, I said, yo, something ever happens to me, I need you to call these people and ask them just to do these photo shoots. Whatever I got on my schedule, pay them whatever, get it done, and just shut off business. But it'd be dope to say, look, call this person, this is their pay, things of that nature. So I like that. I'm still in that.
Now
so
let me
look, I'm about to talk to you off air, have you as a mentor. Let me ask you this. When should people pivot in their business? Because some people don't know when, right?
Oh, everybody knows, bro. Honestly. So for me, I stopped liking what I was doing. in how it was running. I started feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I just read this. Shout out to Teray Roberts. Like, if you ever see this podcast, hopefully you do. Your book, Balance, is absolutely amazing. Shifted my whole perspective. One of the chapters, it talks about balance isn't about time management. It's about boundary management. So when I started recognizing that I'm spending less time, but it's still causing me friction, it's still causing me to feel uncomfortable about what I'm doing, then your discernment has to kick in. Is this uncomfortability because is this discomfort fear, or is this discomfort the lack of boundaries, right? So I think everybody knows. It's that feeling like my clients are a little bit too much, or I'm not motivated to do this, or this isn't as fun as it used to be. When you start feeling it, you have to reflect on what do you want to feel. Just like I talked about at the beginning of the podcast, how I talked to my son. What goal do you, like, what do you want to feel? And then what would that look like? Success, what it was when I started entrepreneurship and I was out here hustling and getting, that's not the same. I would rather, instead of having 100 people sign up for my course and pay $1,000, it's 100,000. Right? I would rather 10 people pay me 10,000. I would rather 2 people pay me 50,000.
Absolutely.
And nurture those relationships. So what happened for me, and this is no shade to anybody, I stopped wanting to have low-level conversations. I stopped wanting to talk about how to start a business. I stopped wanting to talk about how to, like, start the systems. I wanted to talk high-level business owners that were making $500,000 and up on how to get their business to $1 million. That's what I wanted to focus on. So I started to understand what I wanted, and based upon the level that I was at, I wanted to recruit and attract a different type of clientele. That was what worked for me. So if I could give somebody, you know, characteristics or what you should look for, is oftentimes you should do a temperature check on your own life. That's first. How are you feeling? Are you overwhelmed? What are you reflecting on? Once you do a temperature check on your own life, then is this what you want in your business? Because oftentimes we don't align our lives with our businesses.
Absolutely.
We say we want this type of money, but that's going to create a certain type of lifestyle that you're not willing to put into the responsibilities to get to it. So understand you, then understand how your business can do that, and then the gap in the middle is the transformation or the changes that need to happen so that you could be able to create that. You can't meet what you've never measured. But oftentimes we don't take time to do inventory and an audit and a reflection on ourselves. So we just keep going, and we're hurting ourselves.
That's crazy. Let me ask you this. How important has investing in yourself, whether that's education, whether that's being in the right rooms, whether that's attending certain events so you can shake certain hands, how important has that been to your life?
Oh,
not even your
changed me,
business,
bro. It's changed my life 100%. I thought, so before the Think and Grow video conference, I thought I wanted to run my business a specific way, and then to come out when I'm learning from people that are there that have sold companies at $50 million, that have sold companies at $100 million, that are not on social media at all, and that are running billion-dollar companies that have offers that they can talk about on social media that no one can buy. Shout out to Alex Hormozy. So his whole business model, and anybody listening knows this, his whole business model is to only focus on companies that have $3 million and up. That's it. So his business model on social media is, I'm going to give y'all all this game away for free so that you can then build a $3 million company and then you can work for me. Instead of selling you $1,000 course. So it shifts your perspectives. It opens up your mind and it shows you the possibilities. And it also shows you that there's people out here doing it exactly how you want. You don't have to post 8 times a day. You don't have to show up on Instagram every single day to run a 7-figure company.
And I was talking to Ohavia, and we were talking about, she did a free class at CP. And knowing who Ohavia is and knowing how powerful she is and how educated she is, I was kind of shocked at the amount of people that didn't come to her free course at CP. And it blew my mind. And it blew my mind so much so that I voice memoed her on Instagram after her first class. And I thanked her and I said, I paid for classes and didn't learn nothing. I said, I've been to school. You know, I went to college, I went to UNCC, I studied computer software. I did marketing for like almost a decade. Like it was a lot of stuff that was going on. I said, you had a free course. And I said, you was telling the truth and giving actual actionable things, tangible things to do for your business. And I said, it was free. She said, she goes back to what you said. That's the reason why I asked you this question. She said, well, I'm just here to serve.
That's it, bro.
And, you know, sometimes, and the reason why I'm mentioning that on the back end of what you just said was sometimes people will be selling you these courses, these $1,000 courses, and then you realize, like, man, I ain't learned nothing. I just gave somebody $1,000. I just didn't learn anything, whatever. You know, I'm going to keep it moving. And then there's some people who's like, look, you know, mentorship, let me put it like this. Mentorship is so important. It's so powerful. I was telling you how it's a certain photographer who I would have rather paid bruh to shoot for him. But he insisted on paying me, and I was just like, yo, anytime. I will stop. I will readjust. I will move to make some stuff happen. All right. Any tips for somebody that needs to pivot in their business?
Yeah, I would give them the DARES model. So anybody that's listening to this that needs to pivot in your business, write this down. So DARES. So the D is digital. You have to have a digital component in your business. We often talk about owning real estate, but you can own digital real estate as well.
Okay.
You know, it's the same thing, owning space on the internet. The A is automated. Find ways to automate your services, whether it's delegation through people or through specific systems. You have to understand how to automate your business, because the more that you can automate and delegate, the higher probability that you'll have to be able to scale your company. The R is focus on revenue generating activity. That's it. Like, revenue generating activity is absolutely necessary, but another R is reoccurring revenue as well. Where can you focus on building some type of subscription or retainer based model within your company? So is it a weekly payment? Is it a monthly payment? Is it a quarterly payment or a yearly payment? And then if they're obviously paying more, there needs to be an interest attached to how long that they're specifically paying.
Okay.
The E is evergreen. Focus not on today, focus on the next 15 to 20 years from now. Evergreen, in my opinion, means that you're going to be relevant 20 years from now. We're always going to need Google. There's always going to be some form of Amazon. There's always going to be an Apple. Always.
Yeah.
So where can you specifically position yourself and your business in 30 years from now? Because your skill set is going to run out. You're going to get tired. You're not going to be able to do it in the same way. Yeah. So where can you build an actual company that is going to be evergreen? And the S is scalable. If you can't sell it, you can't scale it, in my opinion. So I want you to think about building a productized business. What that means, in my opinion, is build a business that is so systemized that I can hand my business over to you and you can run it at the same level of intensity. And if you can do that, then a VC, a venture capitalist, will be able to come in and want to, you know, value your business. They'll want to evaluate your business based upon its net worth, and then they'll be able to acquire it. So I'm not here to just run my company. I'm here to eventually sell it.
Absolutely.
So you have to have a digital component, whether that's an ebook, a course, a webinar, an audio training, a podcast, some type of traffic source. Now, if we think about a few more components, after you understand the DARES model from a tactical standpoint, you have to understand what your traffic source is, whether that's podcast, Instagram, TikTok, whether that's B2B, whether that's direct marketing, whatever that looks like. How are you generating leads, okay? Number 2 is lead generation. It's important. Lead generation is mathematics. How many people do I need to reach out to, book calls with, or engage with in some type of way so that I can be able to make the revenue that I need to make? Number 3 is lead conversion. Customer experience is much more important than customer acquisition. How you treat your customers once you have them and they've paid you is much more important, and it costs less to the business than continuing to get more clients over and over a period of time. And then the last thing is, again, customer experience and customer ascension. Yeah. So the goal of any business is to increase the lifetime value of your customer. So what that means to any entrepreneur is, let's say you spend $1,000 with me, right? So let's say you buy my $1997 course. Okay. Right? The next step would be our $12,000 guided program. Because you're going to recognize, like, I don't want to do this. I need some help, because you don't have access to me in that. Yeah. It's digital. Yeah. So then you need a coach, right? So you're going to have to pay for my time.
Absolutely.
And that's anybody. Understand your value and what your time costs. So then $12,500. So then now I'm taking you through weekly trainings and all these different things. I partner you up with a client support specialist. And then you're like, yo, this is still a lot of work because I'm an entrepreneur. I have the money to afford $12,500, but I don't have the time to do the work. Yep. So what do you need? Now we have a done-for-you service at $35,000. Yeah. So now this person has just spent $2,000 on top of 12, so 14. Yep. On top of the 35. Yep. So now the lifetime value, if I just get 10 of him, that's a 6-figure company.
Yeah, absolutely. That's crazy. That is wild. I like that. You know, I'm running through and I'm thinking now, I'm like, if I can get photographers to look at themselves like that, will be a lot. It'll be more than, it'll help kill this rat race that we have currently in photography. Agreed. Because there's so many, everybody wants to shoot the same thing. It's so many people. You know, I went to the wedding. I did a wedding this weekend. It was 3 photographers there. Mm-hmm. I was the only one hired to be there, but it was 3. But, you know, and it was amazing. It was still cool because we was all sitting at the table, and one of the girls, she was there assisting. One of the guys was a videographer, but he's mainly a photographer, and it was his mentee. And she looked at me. She said, "Where's your team?" And I said, "What you mean?" She said, "The way I see you, I see that you should have a team, and you're here by yourself." And I said, "Well, my wife is at home," because she said, "Your wife's a photographer? Oh, my goodness, she going?" I said, No, she's not. She said, "Well, then again, I'm asking you, where's your team at?" And I just thought about it, and I said, what if I got sick this morning? I said, what if, scratch that, what if my son needed me this morning? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have been at that wedding. You know, and I thank God that nothing happens, you know. Literally, I don't know how y'all do it, but I pray over my business. I pray over my kid. I pray over myself. Like, I do that because I understand, like, how crazy stuff can get. So it was just interesting. And so I do need to start scaling my business and figuring out those ways of making that stuff happen. I like that. All right. We got a couple of questions. So y'all know how this go. I get to ask Kyle some questions. He got to answer it. And it's from y'all. All right. The first one is from Sean. He says, "Hey, I'm super introverted and I want to move in a space of telling my story. Any tips?"
Write a book. So one of the things that I really believe is that oftentimes, like, for my introverted people,
okay,
stop trying to create reels and videos. Like, there's so many ways. No, really, I think that, you know, society has, like, glamorized social media, but I think that social media can do a lot of bad more than sometimes a lot of good. Mm-hmm. So what I would recognize or recommend for this gentleman is to write a book. So first, what I would do is my driver model. So first, determine your goals. And what are the things that you're trying to accomplish? You know, you have your impact-related goals and you have your income-related goals. Impact-related goals are all about who do you want to make a difference for? Like, who do you want to be a hero for? How do you actually want to make a difference with what it is that you have to share to the world? Okay? Mm-hmm. Once you understand your goals, now you have to review your avatar. Who's the person that hero, who is the person that you can transform? Not just help, transform, okay? Mm-hmm. Once you understand the person, how you can understand that person. If that person was walking and stopped you in the street, I want you to create a character on who that person was. If they were featured in a movie, who is that person? When we think about that person, there's 5 components. Mm-hmm. There's demographic information. Mm-hmm. There's sources of information. Where are they getting their information from? It's their pain points and challenges. What are they experiencing? It's their desires and their wants. What do they really want? And then there's their overall objections. What is the reason that they're telling themselves that they're still in the place that they're in? Okay. So once we review our avatar, now it's time for us to illustrate a roadmap. Based upon where they are now and based upon where they need to be, what is that roadmap and how do you connect with it? Remember, we're all prepared because we're all experts in our own lives. We're the best person to tell people about our own lives, okay?
Absolutely.
So how can you, if that person stopped you, how can you get them from point A to point M? We don't have to be experts in getting people to point A to point Z because a lot of us don't have that game yet. We haven't lived it long enough yet, right? Yeah. So write down your step-by-step process that you can be able to communicate with them. Then visualize the transformation. What is the story that's going on in that person's head that they need to hear? What are the stories in your mind? I'm going to give you 10-10-10 exercise. What are the 10 times in your life where you've won? You've graduated college, you got the girl that you wanted, you got married, you did something, right? What are the times in your life where you lost? You know, it didn't meet your expectations. You lost the race, whatever the case may be. What did you learn from the loss? What did you gain from the process of the win, right? So write down the process of how you won. Write down the learning lesson from how you lost. And then I want you to put that on a document. You've just created all of your stories. Now you group those together, and the E is establish your systems. What I want you to do is I want you to turn those stories into a PowerPoint. I want you to organize them and put them into some chronological order, all right? Only keep the stuff that is essential to the book. Throw away all the other stuff. Establish your system by creating the PowerPoints. And then I want you to go get a tool called Otter and record yourself presenting the PowerPoints. Upload the transcription into Grammarly and now send your whole manuscript that you just built out to an editor and then pre-launch your book. And then the R is revenue generating activity. Don't focus on selling it to people. Focus on selling it to institutions that can buy it in bulk. So schools will buy your book. Prisons will buy your book. Governmental institutions will buy your book. Churches will buy your book. Think of, where's my audience in mass quantity? I don't sell to people. I sell to institutions. So think about that, and I think that would be your first, I guess, steps to being able to write your book.
Look, and come and hire this guy.
That's it.
You look and come and hire him. You know what? We're gonna make sure you give out your social so people can contact you, even though you won't be talking to him before 10 or after 3.
Nah, not after 3.
That is so funny. Sidebar before we get to the next question. I was talking to my wife, and I was just like, I feel like we don't get to spend enough time with him, with my boy. And so I told her, I said, people don't understand why we can't show up to places now. People don't understand why when they invite us somewhere, it might be like, hey, maybe not. And so I was telling her how I had went out with one of my boys that day. It was during the time my kid was at school. And so I said, I had to tell him, I said, look, I drop my boy off at 8:30 every morning. Sometimes it's 8, sometimes it's 8:30. I said, I have to pick him up either at 3 or 4. I said, by the time I get home with him at 4:15, because he goes to school right in the corner, I said, he got to wind down, he got to eat, take a bath. And I said, he's usually sleep by 6:30.
That's 3 hours of time.
I said, every morning, by the time he wakes up, I said, I get 3 hours a day with my kid. And that's if he don't want his mom only, or if Elmo ain't got his attention, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, sometimes in the tub, I'm always constantly talking to my kid, telling him about a shoot I did, just laughing, asking him about his day, letting him just scream at me and stuff like that, and we laughing. But I was telling my boy, I said, yo, at max, I get 3 hours a day with my kid. And I said, that's not enough. I said, he spends more time with his teacher than me. He spends more time, of course, sleeping than with me. So I said, it's just one of those things where it's just like, I heard your schedule earlier, and I'm like, that's why I was like, yo, you sound just like me, bro.
That's it, bro. Like, I wanted to build a fully automated business so that I didn't have to be a part-time parent. When you think of part-time, it's anything under 30 hours, right?
Yeah.
So you said you spent 3 hours roughly a day, times that by 7, that's 21 hours a week. That's a part-time parent.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think there's a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
Right? So you get off of work at 6, or even worse, right? So you drop your kid off at before school care at 7 in the morning, right? The kid stays at after school. They pick them up at 6. They're asleep at 8. That's 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
That's 2 hours a day, and then the parent is still complaining.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
Yeah,
I don't want that.
absolutely.
And I feel like the more time that I'm able to spend with him, even if he's coming to speaking engagements with me, even if he's coming to these different places, or learning how to say no. In the book, again, I'm going to bring it up again. It was such an amazing book, Balance by Teray Roberts. He talked about 90% of your decisions should be no. 10% should be yes, because yes is expensive.
Yeah.
Like, we are limited resources, like limited time, money, resources, energy, all of these different things. So I'm going to stop saying yes to clients, to people, to parties, all these different things, because if I'm saying yes to all that, I'm saying no to my kid.
Absolutely. And it's expensive outside.
No, it is expensive.
It is, bro. Every time you go outside, it is a check. But no, absolutely. Because I was telling my boy, me and him was complaining. Shout out to Jamar. He was complaining to me. We always just, every morning, we just get it all out. We did have like a lamenting session. Then we start talking business, right? Thanks. And so I told him, I said, before Kanye went crazy, he had a conversation. And he told somebody, he said, the biggest luxury in this world is time. And nobody talks about it enough. And he talked about how he went to an airport and pre-checked, the line was longer than the standard security. He said him and Kim got out of the pre-check line and went to the regular security line. And he said his security audit was like, no, what are you doing? What are you doing? He said, my time is more valuable than the status of pre-check. And he said, I went through the regular security line and got on my plane. He said, because that's how valuable my time is on the smallest level. And then I was thinking about it. I was on Reddit and I was talking to some guys, and they didn't understand why wealthy people have chefs. And I was explaining to them, I said, it took me a while, but I asked the guy who had money, I said, yo, why is a chef so necessary. Why do everybody have a chef? He said, I don't have the time to think about what I'm going to eat or cook.
That's it.
He said, I can be making money instead of thinking about, yo, what am I going to have for dinner tonight? And I waste 30 minutes. Let's say I waste an hour. Let's say I go cook it. How much time that's going to take? He said, I'd rather just have somebody to come in and say, hey, this is what you're eating tonight. Here you go. He said, it doesn't matter.
It's like what is the cost costing you, bro?
Absolutely.
It's like, so how much is your like per hour to shoot with you?
To shoot with me, oh my gosh, it depends on what y'all want. I was telling the guy this, we did a maternity shoot. And I said, let me put it like this. Every maternity shoot that I do, it costs me, it's an hour and a half shoot. And the minimum people spend with me is $600.
All right, let's say 600. Right?
Okay.
So when you think about it, let's say you are trying to figure out something to eat.
Yeah.
It says 30 minutes, and then you have to go to the grocery store, so that's another 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you know what you want, so let's say another 15 minutes. So that's
Okay.
an hour right there. So
Yeah.
you come home, and it's going to take you probably 45 minutes to an hour to cook it. So that's 2 hours.
Absolutely.
And then you got to eat it, right? And then
Yeah.
you got to clean up after.
Yeah.
Right? So that's another hour. So that's 3 hours. Let's say that's 3 hours, right? You just lost $1,800.
Absolutely. It's scary to think about.
You just lost $1,800.
It's scary.
Was that meal worth $1,800?
Absolutely not. Because I can't cook. My wife, she
it.
retired me, bro. That's the thing women y'all like to do, and y'all don't even do it nicely. You just retire to cook. You know, I've been cooking for myself. My meals was all right. Then you sat me down. All right, the next question is from Mert. I'm having a tough time focusing on the key features in my business. How can I keep things simple for my clients to follow? It's a deep question. Well, it's like a broken.
Ask me the question one more time.
So saying, it says I'm having a tough time focusing on the key features of my business. How can I keep things simple for my clients to follow?
I think that's two different questions.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
So the first thing, I'm just going to talk about what I do. Right.
Okay.
So every quarter, I write down goals, right, of what I want to accomplish quarterly. I declare dates to all of those goals. And what I mean is, like, in a quarter is 3 months, and then I write down, all right, by July 16th. So, like, the race this morning was on that list. So July 4th, I'm going to do this race. So then I write down goals, all the goals, and then put dates. And then now you have your monthly goals.
Yeah.
Right? Under each goal, I have activities. There's 3 types of focuses. So what are the priorities, what's going to wait, and what can be delegated? Okay?
Yeah.
So priorities, I put a check by. What can wait, I put a circle by.
Okay.
And what can be delegated, I put an X by, and then I find the person to delegate it to.
Yeah.
Okay? So I understand how to focus on the priorities of my business because I only focus on high-value tasks. So I think to answer his first question is you have to understand what are the things that are necessary that are going to drive your business forward. That's number one. Number two is what do you actually want to do, and maybe not want to do, what are you great at doing?
Yeah.
All of the other tasks that you've probably been doing, I would write those tasks down, and then I would identify either a system or a person that you can delegate that to. You can go to onlinejobs.ph right now and get a VA for $400 to $500 on a monthly basis, right? So then go get a client and get an asset to then pay for that specific expense.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's one play right there. Or you can find a system that you can use. But before a system, you have to have a process, right? So in everything that I do, there's a standard operating procedure. What that means is that this is the goal. So let's say, how do you reach out to podcast guests, right? Well, step 1 is to open up your email. Step 2 is to do this. Step 3, so every single activity needs a standard operating procedure to be able to do the business. So now once you bring somebody on board, you've already given them their training manual, and now they have an expectation on how the business runs. Now, as a CEO for your business, Merc, right?
Yeah.
As a CEO in your business, now what do you have the time to do? You have time to think.
Absolutely.
Every day, what I want you to implement is an hour a day. And if you don't have an hour, 30 minutes. If you don't have 30 minutes, put 15 minutes on that calendar. Every single day is thinking time. When you think about your process, it's necessary. So the goal of any business is to take somebody from visitor or stranger, really, stranger to visitor, to essentially qualified user, to adopted user, to customer, to then loyal customer. That is a customer process. That's a customer life cycle. So in this process, before the sale, what are the things that are necessary for that individual to do? They have to get on a sales call. You know, we have to take their payment. These are all processes.
Yeah.
Once you take their payment, then what? What would be the perfect customer experience that you would want to implement? When you think about the customer experience, and Ritz-Carlton says that they want to create cutting edge and memorable moments with all of their guests.
Absolutely.
When you think about your experience that your customer goes through, how can you create memorable moments? So step one, after they purchase, they do this. Step two is that this happens, this email gets sent out, this happens. Then once you have your full process written down because you've had time to think about it, then now it's time for you to go back and see, what can I do to simplify this? Can I get somebody to delegate it, or can I get a system out there to run it?
Absolutely.
So Airtable, Monday, you have Trello, you have Honeybook, you have all of these different systems. HubSpot, do you have a CRM system, a customer relationship management tool? So all of those different things out there are necessary, but you have to think about it, and you have to understand what that customer life cycle looks like.
Absolutely. Shout out to the Ritz. For y'all
There it is.
that know, I worked there for like 8 years. It was and that's, shout out to them, especially. I didn't talk trash about them on here, but it's never about them. It's about everything else. But the thing is, in orientation, they stressed everybody that walks through the door, if they walk in through the door to buy a cupcake that's $2, they need an experience that they'll never get going to any other bakery.
That's powerful.
And it stuck with me because I'm like, yo, they coming in here, get a cupcake, and they're going right out the door. It's literally, it was like, no, there's an experience that's can be given there. Give it. And now in my business now, I always think about, yo, what does that experience looks like? And so I'm so glad you brought that up. All right, last question from Mike. He said, oh, I think you're going to like this. Now, you might have already answered it, but I'm sure you got more. How has being a parent affected your business decisions?
All right, so I'm going to answer this on a little bit differently.
Okay.
Right?
Look, we got it.
So in my life, I live by 5 things, 5 principles. Right?
Okay.
A mentor of mine, shout out to Andre Norman, asked me a question years ago. He said, Kyle, what is your top 10? He was like, I was like, what? He was like, if you could have any 10 things in life, what would you want?
Okay.
So I was like, oh, shoot, I'm about to run it up. And it was a lot of like superficial things.
Absolutely.
Obviously. But right now, so fast forward to my mature age. The first thing for me is that, you know, we're all going to die one day. And I want to be known as the father, as the husband, as the community leader that was respectable, and as a man of integrity. It's been important for me, especially here more recently. Like, integrity is critical.
Absolutely.
Number 2 is, oftentimes as men, we believe that we're the tide and women are the ships. I believe that women are the tide and men are the ships. And oftentimes we're so in front that we don't have time to empower our women.
Absolutely.
So number 2 for me is that I want to be able to marry someone that I can take a back seat to, and that she can rock out an audience or a stage, and I can be able to empower her to be the best that she can be.
Absolutely.
Right? Number 3 is that I want to build a sustainable community for disenfranchised individuals. And in this community, it's actually happening now. I want to be able to have equitable opportunities, free education, and a pathway to being able to develop entrepreneurial endeavors that create wealth in the Black or brown community. Number 4 is I want to win a Nobel Peace Prize for the level of global impact that I have. Okay. And then how I'm going to be able to do that is in number 5, which is the most critical, is I want to be able to impact 30 million kids through an educational software that we're essentially building right now. So I say that to say this, and that's a powerful question that you asked. Everything that I do is based upon those 5 things. Everything, right? So my child obviously is number 1 on my list, and there's no business before him. So if I have meetings, if I have different things, if I've canceled board meetings, or I haven't been able to attend board meetings because I had to be a father first, right? So me being a father comes first, okay? So if there's something on the list, then I align my time and set boundaries so that it can get me something on the list. I don't do anything else that is not on my list. I don't show up to podcasts that I know that can't promote what I do, or if it's not in alignment with the things that we're going to be talking about. I don't involve myself in relationships. And all of this goes back to the question. The man that I want Carter to see, I had to become. Period.
Absolutely.
So how I want to run my business has drastically changed because I wanted to be the man that was there every single moment. Every single school event, you see me there. I even became a board member at his school so that I could be able to have access that other parents don't have, just so that I can be there to support him.
Absolutely.
But for me to become a board member, I had to be doing things in the community. I had to be, making noise.
Absolutely.
So I have recreated myself because I envisioned the man that I wanted Carter to look up to, and I was willing to put in the work and follow the process so that he can be proud of the father that he was raised by.
Absolutely. Do you ever think about, and I know he's 6, but I know that you absolutely do. You ever think about how you're going to nurture like what he wants to become once he gets older? And I walk you through that. Last night I was talking to my wife and I said, man, it hit me that I've been taking pictures for 13 years and I'm young, you know what I'm saying? And so actually 14 now I'm thinking about it. But the thing is, I told her, I said, my dad really didn't know what I was doing. But once he saw that I was super interested in something, he was like, we're going all in. You know what I'm saying? And it was a blessing because I told my wife, I said, I could have wasted this man all his doggone money. You know what I'm saying? I told you before, the first camera I got, my father purchased. You know what I'm saying? And it was a good camera. I didn't know what I had. That's how good of the camera was that somebody stopped me and said, you got an amazing camera. And I said, he was like, I love to see your photos. And I'm thinking, you don't want to see my photos. And then I thought, I'm like, how did he know I have a good camera? But then I figured out that I really did. And so I told my wife, I said, man, I can't wait to see what interests him. And I said, I just hope I'm mentally mature enough to not be like, all right, that's going to be a waste of time. That's going to be a waste of energy. That's going to be a waste of money. And I said, I hope I'm mature enough to understand. Have you ever thought about because your son is getting to the age now, well, he's probably already there where it's like he's showing interest in different things, whether it's a certain sport or a certain type of music or whatever the case may be. Like, have you thought about how you're going to navigate that as a dad?
Yeah, so it's funny because I feel like every month he says he want to do something different.
Yeah.
But I'm similar to your dad, and I think that is the biggest difference between my parents and me as a parent. So my parents, all they knew was sports.
Yeah.
I got exposed to sports, and then as I got older into high school, they put me in a lot of educational programs, and I still remember a program when I was in high school that exposed me to medical school and what it would be like going into medical school. And I thought I wanted to go to medical school. After that program, I was like, this is not for me.
This is not for me.
So for me, every time he sees something that he wants to do, or and it takes being present. Because I think that's where a lot of parents make the mistake.
Absolutely.
But then I go buy it for him.
Yeah.
Or I'll teach him how to do it. So he likes to build. He likes to color. He likes to create. He likes to dance. He likes to sing. He likes to do all these different things. He hasn't really enjoyed playing sports.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And it's 100%. I'm not pushing him to football just because I want you out there.
Absolutely.
I want to push you towards the places that you actually find interest in.
Absolutely.
So now there's definitely guidelines. You have to be able to read. You have to be able to write. You have to be able to problem solve, think. But I want us to focus as parents, and I don't think this is taught enough, right? It's not necessarily I ask kids all the time, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be? What do you want to be when you grow up? And kids have, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a dentist. I want to do all these different things. No kid has ever, in my years of speaking, has ever said, I want to be integral. I want to be a good person. I want to be honest. Because it's not about you training or you developing or you leading and empowering your children to become something. That's what the world wants you to think. It's about you helping your child learn characteristics and core values, so whatever they choose, they're actually happy. And I know that's cliche. I just want my kids to be happy, but I genuinely, I really do.
Yeah.
Because I'm working my behind off and building wealth in the right ways to sustain a life for my children where they can actually do the things that make them happy and not have to be starving out here for money.
Absolutely.
And never being able to live their true potential with what God put them on this earth to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. That's deep right there. Yeah, it's like there's a lot of space and time and gap with my kid before we get to certain steps. And then I swear yesterday we was just in the hospital giving birth, right? And so I'm realizing how quick 10 months can go. And then I look, my nephew is 10. And I remember being in the hospital for him. It was a week ago.
Wow.
And so I tell my sister, I'm like, she's always telling me, look, it's going to go by fast. Enjoy all this. My sister called me. She said, can I watch your boy on Saturday? So I said, yeah, you can watch him. So she's like, all right. And I said, well, look, he's a lot. And I say it every episode, I have a great kid. My boy don't cry. He doesn't fuss unless he's hungry. Other than that, you feed him and he's good. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I have a great kid, but I said, yo, he's a lot. Like, I know as soon as, all right, it's this time, he needs to eat, whatever, I can go ahead and problem solve. And then she laughed at me. She said, I've raised a kid. Right. And then she hit me with I was like, well, he got to go to sleep. And she's not lying. She said, outside of your wife, I get him to sleep the fastest. She's not lying. I've given him to her, and she does some type of move. I really think it's the breast, and that's really what I'm knocking it off on. But and I remember she had she got to spend time with him. So I asked her the next day to speed it up. I was going to have her to watch him half the day, so my boy's grandmother can hang with him. And she said, no, I got it. Like, I was going to give her a break. And so I asked her the next day, I said, how was it? And she said, I miss that feeling. That's how long ago it was. Wow. And she said, it's been 10 years. She was like, my boy now, he's independent. He don't need me to feed him. He don't need me to give him a bath. He don't need me to brush his hair. She said, so I enjoyed that actual time with your boy. And she was thanking me. She was like, so when is the next time? I'm like, well, yo, you already had him all Saturday. Look, Calvin already told you I'm a part-time parent out here. And I like that because I do want to get more full-time. And the joke is now, I pull up at daycare. I'm one of the few dads every day at daycare. Exactly. And they know exactly who I am. They laughing. They call me in for meetings. Cause look, and one of the person over his daycare, she came to me and she said, look, we're doing this for the older kids, but because you're involved, I want you to do it too. And so we're doing this thing where, he's 10 months, but everybody in our entire family has to write him letters and give him something. He's going to open it up when he's in high school. That's powerful. We're doing a time capsule, but she's like, look, we usually do it for when the kids are 5 or 6. She said, but why don't you start now? Exactly. You give it to him on his first birthday. Exactly. And, when he's 18 or whenever you decide, y'all can open it up then. So it's super dope. All right, before we get out of here, because we're going to have you to drop your information. Mm-hmm. You are from Atlanta. Did you watch Usher's Tiny Desk concert? What did you think of it?
It was lit.
It actually was.
I love Usher, man.
Look, so I was watching it. And so first of all, I saw it was 24 minutes. And I'm going to tell NPR, y'all got me. And that's my only gripe about this. I saw 24 minutes. I said, look, we're going to at least get about 8 songs because I'm thinking he's going to do like one verse, a little bit of the chorus, cool. And y'all got us with the 4 songs, but it was so dope. And it was good to see. He sounded good. Usher looked great. Seeing all just those black faces, black men in that room just killing it. It was super dope. I will be in Vegas in a few weeks. And I'm staying at the park, MGM, and that's where Usher's performing.
He's performing?
Yeah, he has a residency out there. The tickets are like $400 though. And it's just me. So I keep telling my wife, I'm like, yo, I think I might just go.
Do it, bro.
And she's like, look, you need to go to this. She said it's going to be so dope. Because Usher is like my age, around that age range. Yeah. And I remember, it's funny now, you be listening to songs that you were singing like in middle school and high school. And you're like, yo, I ain't experienced none of this.
I think that shows that how powerful, like he's a GOAT in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this whole GOAT conversation has always been a thing. But I feel like for his longevity, as long as he's been in the game, like when we were in middle school and elementary school, we're still listening and we can still rock to the same music in 2022.
Absolutely.
Right. And I think it's just, and he's an amazing person.
Absolutely.
Well. So I'm proud of him for even being able to put that out. He definitely, looked great, sounded great. Because, some people, their voices are shot.
We saw that in Versus.
No, definitely. So you should go, bro. You should go.
Look, I think I'm going to have to go. All right. Before we get out of here, I need you to drop how people can find you. Whether that's your website, socials, if you want to do that. And then leave us with a lasting word. I'm going to let you close out the podcast today.
No, I appreciate it. This is interesting.
Absolutely.
So how you can find me, again, my name is Kyle King. You can find me on Instagram, Kyle S. King. You can find me on LinkedIn, Kyle S. King. And you can find me on YouTube, Kyle S. King. It's very simple.
Smart.
And then you can find the websites and everything through either one of those different channels. The one word that I would leave everybody with is to trust yourself. And you don't need the gadgets. You don't need the watches, the computers, all of these mentors, all of these coaches, all of these things to be successful and to be happy. And when you begin to trust that little voice in the back of your head that's telling you to get up a little bit earlier, that's telling you to work a little bit harder, that's telling you to read a little bit longer, I guarantee in 6 months from now, your life will be completely different. You don't need the things that we've glamorized. You don't need new cameras. You don't need a new phone. You don't need the nicest car. You just need to be the best person, because any entrepreneur that's listening to this, the best way that you could be a better CEO is to be the best person that you can be internally. Because if you get the internal right, then everything that flows out will be impactful, and then you'll be able to receive everything that you already deserve. So trust yourself, continue to run your own race, and don't look left, look right. Only look at what God has already shown you, and you deserve it.
Bro, I want to thank you. Thank you for that. I want to thank you for coming on. It's beautiful when you reach out to people and their answer is just yes. No questions, no, hey, this, and you, I asked you and you reached out, you said, all right, what you want me to talk about? What all do I need? I'm there. I'm ready. I'm willing. Even yesterday, you said, look, I can be there early if you want. You know what I'm saying? And it was a beautiful thing. So I'm thankful for that. I hope you come back. We would love to have you back on. Trust me on that. And I appreciate you, man. And for that, look, we're going to holler at y'all next time.